Puff, what up, bro? I'm not feeling too good today, guys. Actually, I just took the rest of the week off. Definitely not feeling good. So, I'll just drink some water, some apple cider vinegar, some orange juice, and stay my ass in the house for the next couple of days. yeah, yeah, yeah.
To watch my exclusive content, not featured anywhere on YouTube, log on to my website at I'mJustHereToMakeYouThink.com/films.
Yo, D1, what up, bro? Bro, you work too much, bro. Man, so he just took his lunch break.
In today's society of America, thousands of people are currently protesting for many causes, mainly due to the unfair treatment of so-called black people here in America. The causes can range between equal human rights, equal employment opportunities, affordable.
So I was just telling Puff, man, I ain't even go to work today. Probably won't go back to work the rest of the week, bro. I do not feel good. I got this fucking crazy ass headache, like in the back of my fucking head, yo. Fucking body aches. I've been getting like cold chills and shit all fucking night, all day. I feel like shit right now. No, the B and Y? No, what's that? Like, I don't even pay attention to the uploads of my videos. It just, I mean, it does it automatically from PlayStation when I end my stream. What the fuck? Boyden and Youngbolt Marketing and Advertising Agency. BNY Marketing and Advertisement. BNY Agency YouTube.
Hey guys, so I was just looking at Kildare Grass Demons. You guys know what that means?
Fuck is that? That's what I'm saying. I never do that. I don't edit anything. I just stream and then I turn my PlayStation off. And it uploads all my videos automatically. I don't ever pre-record or do anything like that. I never edit any of my videos, so I've never seen a I don't even know what the location option is. Like, what does that even do? A location option? Like, I've never played around with YouTube that much. I don't know. Like, all I know how to do is go to my channel page and I can see my videos and what's the last video I posted. But as far as like editing stuff or changing titles, or I don't really do that shit. That shit don't really matter to me. Whatever it is, I don't know. Some location out in the middle of the ocean, that's crazy. Yeah, so I don't fiddle with a lot of settings or anything. Ever since I set my YouTube channel up, like, well, no, that's different because that does it automatically too, because like when I do Cooking with the Prince and I'm using my phone to but even that's live. Like, I don't pre-record anything normally and add it to my YouTube channel. Everything I do is live, and even from my phone, it has to go through this longer upload process. So, but I've never seen like a location, or what location are you loading it to or loading it from, or what location are the servers in, or whatever like that. Or I never paid that shit any attention. It does sound kind of weird though. It just says it's a marketing agency, and most things like that, they have like some office that's offshore in some little small place where they don't get paid a lot of taxes just to say it's a legitimate business, and everybody works from home, from their desktops and their tablets and their phones and shit. But we are an official company, and our address is such and such and such in the middle of nowhere in the fucking ocean. Somewhere they don't have to pay taxes for anything. It's just a piece of paper that says, hey, we have a business here. This is where we're located.
Social injustice, police brutality, and racial discrimination, just to name a few things. But the public fails to mention one very important key factor when it comes to shining light on the darkest areas of environmental preconceptions: our children. And this subject gets a lot deeper than one may assume. So, in this video, I will cover many important details of information concerning our children and how they are treated by the government currently and historically. And maybe you'll get a better understanding of the right questions to ask prior to you voting for your favorite political personality.
Dane Calloway.
According to an article written
Mr.
by
Dane
Julian
Calloway,
S. Cole,
I'm only here to make you think.
On July 14, 2020, under the category coronavirus, it states, quote, "A teenager didn't do her online schoolwork, so a judge sent her to juvenile detention." This article details how a 15-year-old child by the name of Grace of Pontiac, Michigan, was arrested because she was unable to abruptly adjust to the brand new quarantine settings of her school. Mind you that this exact same thing happened to many schools across the nation, where the students and their teachers were forced to continue with schooling, but only by way of the internet at their homes. To those of you who may not be aware of how a child reacts to sudden life changes, just imagine your child attending his or her school for the very first time. Getting up early in the day, getting used to seeing new faces of other children and their teachers, adapting to conversing with strangers, speaking out loud in front of everyone that they just met, and many other things that a child will go through when learning how to adjust to being forced into unwanted places. So if the child
Basically, I'm at the bottom half of the canvas, like here, all the way across, with the water. All I need to do is like add some little more water effects and blend some things in here with some of the greens a little bit. Maybe add a little bit more highlights in this portion, but this shit is almost done, yo.
But for some strange reason,
almost done. Been working on it long enough, but getting there. But what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna just take this down for a while and start on the underpainting for my next commission. And probably between today and tomorrow, I just want to get the underpainting going. And so while the underpainting is drying, I can come back and maybe finish this piece. Bro, I don't feel good at all. And then if I can, what the fuck I was saying? All right, I'm gonna do the underpainting. If I can get that done in the next couple of days, I'll take the underpainting down. I'll finish this piece. Hopefully by the time I finish this piece, the underpainting will be dry, and then I can just hop right back into the next project. And the client for my next project actually may have another project lined up. He's asking for 2 paintings back to back, which is awesome because that's a couple $1,000s in my pocket. So let's look at this next piece that I'm going to be working on. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to clean off my palette and add some colors to it. I need some fucking water, yo. Oh, shit. I feel kind of icky this morning or this afternoon. Just try to stay hydrated. Hydration. So this is the next piece I'm doing. So this should be pretty fun. Just gonna load up my palette with, like I said, this is going to be the underpainting, just a rough blocking in. So I'm gonna use my standard colors I always use for skin tones because it works, especially for underpaintings. So Yeah, I guess I'm gonna just have to throw all this paint up here away. Like, I'm gonna waste a little bit, but it'll be easier than just trying to work around the old paint that's up there.
To this ProPublica article, on April 21st, 2020, Judge Mary Ellen Brennan sentenced Grace to, quote, intensive probation, which included a GPS tether, regular check-ins with the court caseworker, counseling, no phone, and the use of the school laptop for educational purposes only. Grace also was required to do her schoolwork. At the end of the hearing, the judge stated, quote, I hope that she upholds her end of the bargain. So while Grace began the start of her probation, Birmingham, Michigan Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Wanda Cook Robinson asked families for patience as schools moved to online curriculums and promised flexibility in their supports. Prior to any of this occurring, Grace was already a high school sophomore that had nearly perfect attendance. But her mother was worried about this all of a sudden change with her schooling, because Grace would now miss receiving in-person support from her teachers, which is needed, according to her mother, because of Grace's history of having a mood disorder and symptoms of ADHD. Grace's school, Groves High School, made a supportive promise to Grace and her mother called the Individualized Education Plan, which required teachers of Groves High School to, quote, periodically check in to make sure Grace was on task and clarify the material. And it allowed her extra time to complete assignments and tests. But according to Grace's mother, once remote learning began, she didn't get any of those supports from her school. Now, on April 24th, 2020, which was just 3 days after the court hearing, Grace was assigned a brand new caseworker named Rachel Giroux, in which Rachel made notes in her file that Grace was doing well and reported no issues at home. But then the following week came, and Grace informed Rachel that she felt overwhelmed, forgetting to plug in her computer, and her alarm clock didn't go off, so she overslept. Grace's mother stated that she felt overwhelmed as well, adjusting to all of these new settings at home. Rachel's notes stated, quote, worker, who was Rachel, told mother that child is not going to be perfect, and that teenagers aren't always easy to work with, but you have to give them the opportunity to change. Child needs time to adjust to this new normal of being on probation and doing work from home, end quote. Then, exactly 5 days later, out of nowhere, the caseworker, Rachel Giroux, filed a violation of probation against Grace for not doing her schoolwork, telling the prosecutor that she planned to ask the judge to detain Grace because she, quote, clearly doesn't want to abide by the rules in the community. Keep in mind that Rachel is the caseworker and not Grace's teacher. In fact, Rachel immediately filed the violation of probation against Grace 3 days prior to contacting Grace's actual teacher, Catherine Tarpe, to confirm whether she was meeting her academic requirements or not. Attempting to find any evidence against Grace, Rachel emailed her teacher asking, quote, is there a certain percentage of a class she's supposed to be completing a day, week? And Catherine replied stating that Grace is, quote, not out of alignment with most of my other students. Let me be clear that this is no one's fault, because we did not see this unprecedented global pandemic coming. Grace has a strong desire to do well. She is trying to get to the other side of a steep learning curve mountain, and we have a plan for her to get there, end quote. ProPublica and other reporters attempted to reach out to Grace's teacher, Catherine, for comments, but Catherine informed them that she was not allowed to discuss Grace's case. So on May 14th, 2020, was the day of the violation of probation hearing at the Oakland County Courthouse. at a time when the family division was hearing only, quote, essential emergency matters, in which Grace's case was the only one heard in person in the courthouse that day. Listen closely. With concerns about his health, Grace's attorney, Jonathan Burnett, participated via Zoom and not in person, and he informed the judge that it would be difficult to represent Grace without actually being there. But he did not want to request a postponement because her family was worried about Grace being possibly detained until the next court date. The prosecution called for its only witness to the stand, that being the caseworker, Rachel Giroux. And in response to questions from Grace's attorney, Rachel acknowledged that she did not know what type of educational disabilities Grace had, and she did not answer a question about accommodations those disabilities might require. Rachel said that her assessment that Grace hadn't done her schoolwork was based on a comment her mother made to her teacher, in which the mother testified she said in a moment of frustration and was untrue. According to the prosecutor, Grace's special education teacher, Catherine, could have provided more information and planned to testify, but had to leave the hearing to teach a class. Judge Mary Ellen Brennan found that Grace was in violation of probation for not submitting schoolwork and ordered that she be detained at Children's Village in Oakland County, Michigan. After nearly approaching 3 months of being detained in Children's Village, Grace was released on July 31st, 2020. Grace's attorneys, John Burnett and Siam Khalil, talked to reporters upon her release from being incarcerated.
The system needs to recognize that that's what mom was doing when she was reaching out to the probation officer is, hey, I need help. Not, hey, take my kid and lock them up. That was never what mom was seeking.
Now, this should make you ask some serious questions. Like, why would the government mistake Grace's mother's cries for help as meaning she's an unfit mother and her child should be taken away from her? How could Grace be labeled as a threat to the community and the community benefits from her removal of living under her mother's roof as her child? Is it really benefiting the community, or is it really benefiting someone else? Looking at this from a broader perspective, these types of governmental actions are a nod to the uncommonly known set of individual state laws called the Black Codes of 1865, not to be confused with the segregation laws that were later nicknamed as Jim Crow laws. The Black Codes of 1865 are a set of standards or policies in which each state government individually followed religiously. These particular policies deal with civil rights, labor contracts, vagrancy, apprenticeship, crimes, punishment, and other restrictions against American Indians. But its main focus was on education and apprenticeship, but not for adults. This was strictly about control and indoctrinating the mindsets of the Indian children. Because it was said that if you teach or train a child how to be a better servant, then that child will grow into his adulthood, wanting to be a better servant for the rest of his life, simply because that's all he knows. The Black Codes were also used by all state governments as a manipulative means to legally force American Indians into uncontrollable, life-changing situations, which eventually resulted in the removal of the parent as being the head of the household, just as it was done in Grace's case, where she was literally seized from her mother's custody and incarcerated for allegedly not doing her schoolwork. This is all about Reconstruction, just as it was in the year 1865 when the Black Codes were introduced. But this wasn't about any physical Reconstruction. No, it's strictly a political Reconstruction. being as though the younger generation is more vulnerable to fear-mongering via social engineering from either party of the political spectrum. Now, I would like for you to note the Oxford's dictionary definition of the word education. It defines it as the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction. And that may seem harmless at first until you discover its etymology, which states that it is a Middle French word that means child rearing or of animals. And in the 1828 Webster's English Language Dictionary, it states that the word educate derives from the Latin word educo, which means to lead. But the definition, however, states that it means, quote, to bring up as a child, to instruct, to inform and enlighten the understanding, to instill into the mind principles of arts, science, morals, religion, and behavior. And in this same English Language Dictionary of 1828, the word education is defined as, quote, the bring up as of a child, instruction and discipline, which is intended to enlighten the understanding, correct the temper, and form the manners and habits of the youth, and fit them for usefulness in future stations. End quote. Is it apparent that codes are still active today, just as they once were in 1865, including the chains and the shackles? Mind you that the Civil Rights Act was enacted a year later, on April 9, 1866, in which this act offered all individuals born in the U.S. the right to franchisement, meaning that anyone could own a business, sell a product, provide a service, and make profits. What is also very important to note here is that the Civil Rights Act of 1866 also allowed all individuals to, quote, make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, and give evidence, to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property, and to full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of person and property as enjoyed by white citizens. End quote. This part alone exposes exactly just what it means to be white. It is not regarded as a skin complexion in a legal sense, but rather a status that allows for access to freedoms that all other persons are denied. This created an immediate problem for those that were in favor of seeing the American industry grow the way they see fit, because the Civil Rights Act of 1866 contradicted the Black Codes of 1865, therefore making the Black Codes falling in jeopardy to be legally overturned if someone wanted to raise the issue. So Congress responded with the passing of the 14th Amendment, which states, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. End quote. The 14th Amendment was passed by Congress on June 13, 1866, just 2 months after the Civil Rights Bill of 1866 was enacted, and it was thought to have allegedly extended the liberties and rights granted by the Civil Rights Bill. However, that is very far from the truth, because the 14th Amendment says here that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge, meaning cut off, the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. So, what are these privileges and immunities that are referenced here? Now, instead of us assuming or guessing for ourselves the original but yet
Just checking some emails and messages real quick that I got while I was setting up the pallet. So I posted the latest episode of my TV show on my Facebook page, and one of my friends says that her and her daughter just watched it, and her daughter was just like so excited to see me on TV. One of my coworkers is texting me about my coworkers just, like I say, the office is kind of dead lately. Nobody is hardly in there, and I'm not at the office today. One of my coworkers, she's texting me like, who's in the office? You know, because she has to come up there and get some shit done. I'm telling her like, I don't know, I'm not, I'm not at work today. I don't feel good. Yeah. So my friend, her daughter just watched the episode of my show, and then who else was texting me? Oh, and then I just got this email. Like I was telling you guys yesterday, Art of the State. This is the press release from the State Museum of Pennsylvania. As you can see, my painting is smack in the middle. Hey, front and center, that's my painting right there, right in the middle of the press release. And this is the virtual awards ceremony, Sunday, September the 13th, 2020 at 2 p.m. Here's a link for it. You can available online. The September 13th distributed via Facebook and Twitter. The 360-degree virtual exhibit, the archived award ceremony recording, and exhibit catalog PDF and programming announcements can be accessed on statemuseum.org. So, Art of the State by the numbers. 680 artists from 324 cities and 55 counties submitted 1,901 entries. 108 works of art from 109 artists were selected. Finalists represent 29 countries, 41 painters, 15 photographers, 12 ceramicists, 10 woodworkers, 8 quilters, 6 jewelry makers, 2 basket weavers, and 1 kinetic artist. Whatever the fuck kinetic art is. I want to check that out. So, yeah, it was a very, very diverse group. Really steep competition. And yeah, so this is very nice. Very nice. So let's see. What if I go to their stuff now? Yeah, they don't have it on their Facebook page where I can share that link, so they must be just like emailed that to everybody. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I guess can I take it from my? Can I take this from my email and share it? Wait a minute, where's my email? I can't share it from my email directly to Facebook. So what if I text it to myself? If I text myself the link. Nope. Can't do it that way either. Shit. Oh well, I guess I'll wait till they share it on their social media, then I'll share it from there because I can't share it because this is a PDF and I can't share it directly from my email. All right. So let's start this underpainting. Got checked up on my messages and stuff real quick. Hopefully we can get like an hour or so without anybody disturbing us. You know what I'm saying? We were listening to some Dane Calloway.
Popular definition of the word privilege is defined in the 18th.
Why can't I find that one channel?
Because a car looks like a good deal online.
News looks deeper. Only 3 of 10 cars are.
It happened today, Monday, April 27th, 2020. The Pentagon officially released 3 videos of what it literally admits UFOs. And the U.S. government has never done anything like this before. Anything like admitting objects are recorded as being unidentified, and then publishing that footage on one of their official websites, so that that footage is genuinely official and real. I will play the videos in just a minute. Statement by the Department of Defense on the release of historical Navy videos, April 27th, 2020. The Department of Defense has authorized the release of 3 unclassified Navy videos, taken in November 2004, or 2 in January 2015, which have been circulating in the public domain after unauthorized releases in 2007 and 2017. The U.S. Navy previously acknowledged that these videos circulating in the public domain were indeed Navy videos. After a thorough review, the Department has determined that the authorized release of these unclassified videos does not reveal any sensitive capabilities or systems, and does not impinge on any subsequent investigations of military airspace incursions by unidentified aerial phenomena. The Department of Defense is releasing the videos in order to clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage that has been circulating was real, or whether or not there is more to the videos. The phenomenon observed in the videos remain characterized as unidentified. The released videos can be found at the Naval Air Systems Command FOIA reading room. So there are 3 videos: FLIR, Go Fast, and Gimbal. And here they are. Also, these clips are a little bit loud, so volume warning.
Yeah, so they just cut the sound out a little bit right now, but I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'm always trying to keep up with shit like this, but yeah, earlier this year, the Pentagon actually said, hey, we got some shit on camera. We didn't make it. We don't know what the fuck it is. Apparently it's not man-made. It's not terrestrial. It's extraterrestrial. And like these YouTubers and bloggers are keep saying, like, it seems like nobody fucking cared. Like when Elon Musk said, hey, I'm making the fucking Matrix, then he just previewed that shit recently. He just previewed it, that he's building the Matrix, and it's like, nah, nobody cares. Nobody don't care about real stuff. Like, this is like real stuff that's going on right now. The Pentagon said, yes, we have some stuff on footage of a craft that is flying, and we didn't make it. And it doesn't appear like any humans made it. It appears to be something else. Of this, not from this world.
Hey everyone, today we're going to be seeing what would...
But nobody I don't know. It just seems like nobody cares, yo. It is the weirdest thing. There's aliens out there flying around us, and people are just like, but it's the last season for the Kardashians. The new episode of Power just came on. Yeah, but what about the aliens though? Aliens aren't real. Well, something was out there just now. Mm, I'm going to attempt to make a color here real quick. It's not pinkish enough. I thought if I could use some of that orange in there, it might get that pink up, but I guess not. Try a little bit of this and a lot more of this. That looks a little nicer to what I was actually going for. Yep, something like that. That's hard to say, but it's kind of like a pink, a light pink. Yo, that guy was on he was on Joe Rogan. I'm pretty sure that's the guy who was on Joe Rogan, and Joe was not believing him, but he did, if for whatever, like, Joe was kind of believing some of it because the guy had some credible sources, but then at the same time it was like he couldn't say anything. He was like, oh, I can't talk about that, I can't talk about that, I can't talk about this, I can't name this person, but it's true, it's all true. And then a couple months later, the Pentagon has to fucking announce some shit like, yeah, dude, we don't know what it was, so sue us.
Because a car looks like a good deal online doesn't mean it is. That's why CarGurus looks deeper. Only 3 of 10 cars earn our highest ratings. So instead of wondering if a car is a deal, you'll know it is. Go to CarGurus today.
Wondersauce is a creative agency focused on
So I'm talking to you before this show starts, suggesting that we start the show with this particular article. And you look at me and say, yeah, I mean, you gotta do it.
My bad.
It is not your typical news, but it just feels like we should be making a bigger deal of it. I don't, collectively as a humanity,
Yes.
should this not be the top headline?
I mean, it's trending up there.
It's crazy how caught up you can get, though, in the human stuff. Just in the human daily life, that a story like this can break and not every single human is talking about it, because it really feels like if this had happened at a different moment where people weren't so caught up with the typical daily noise, then it just will be so much chatter around this. I'm not saying there isn't chatter, there is chatter, but this is crazy. The Pentagon has stated they've got off-world vehicles not made on this earth, and it's a key. That is a key headline, sir, because this isn't your typical unidentified flying object. That just means we don't know what it is. It could be it could be a foreign object, it could be some other type of jet we don't know about. It's just unidentified, we just don't know what it is. But to say, I mean, any expert, any individual inside of this group within the Pentagon, for any of them to say off-world vehicle not made on this earth, they're going a step further to attempt to identify the thing that's unidentified.
Yeah. And the Pentagon saying that they don't know what it is, it adds more to the mystery. Because they're supposed to be, right?
They see the weaponry. I mean, yeah, when it comes to alloys and various other materials that you would typically show up in something that might be flying in the sky, these would be the people who had seen it all or seen a lot of it. So for it to hit the mainstream like this is popular mechanics. This isn't the newspaper, the tabloid thing when you're walking through the checkout version of the internet. This isn't it. This is stream now, reported by the New York Times. This all started with those video clips that were declassified, and he said, okay, fine, the public can have access to this now. They can essentially see these videos recorded from fighter jets, fighter pilots, locked on, by the way, to these flying objects, locked on, chasing them, sort of, but having no, they're moving differently, having no clue exactly what they're tracking, exactly what is up. And then as those video clips emerge, then we start to uncover things and peel more layers of the onion.
Yeah.
We are living right now, Willie Do, in 2020, the closest from an evidence perspective that humans have publicly ever lived to the potential of aliens. Period.
What a time.
I'm just, it feels weird to say that because this is a thing where it's been such a fiction, science fiction, and I mean, you look up at the vastness of you look up in the sky, you look at the vastness of our galaxy, you see all those stars, you wonder, you imagine, and then you get the Pentagon saying off-world vehicles not made of this. Now we got it. Yeah, those things. And we couldn't tell you about it before, we'll tell you about it now. I mean, it's hard to even digest it. The government's once clandestine UFO program will reveal findings on unexplained materials and crashes. As recently as February, a Pentagon spokesperson told Popular Mechanics that while a government program did investigate unmanned aerial vehicles, UAV, and other unexplained aerial phenomena for some time last decade, funding dried up in 2012. Now, a new report in the New York Times confirms those accounts. The government's UFO unit currently resides in the Office of Naval Intelligence, where it deals with classified matter, per the report. Even though the unit itself isn't classified, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force is meant to standardize collection and reporting of sightings of UAVs and publicly divulge at least some of its findings twice a year. So this is a real shift in the perception of even how these events are distributed to the general public. So now you're having the public kind of involved in these findings in a way that used to be secretive. That's 2020. As if 2020 couldn't get any weirder. Now we have this to go. Now we add that to the pile of 2020.
What if aliens decided to come back because this world is too messed up and they're just like, okay, we're gonna try to
Oh, just quietly from the outskirts.
Yeah.
Bring those vehicles in. I mean, what can they...
Let's try to bring the human unity together.
Oh man, look at this, okay. Harry Reid, the former Nevada senator who was instrumental in funding the original UFO program, told the Times, New York Times, he believes that crashes from other worlds had occurred, and that retrieved materials had been studied secretly for decades, often by aerospace companies under government contracts. Here's his quote: "After looking into this, I came to the conclusion that there were reports, and some were substantive, some not so substantive, that there were actual materials that the government and the private sector had in their possession. The astrophysicist Eric Davis, who consulted with the Pentagon's original UFO program, told the Times that after he examined certain materials, he came to the conclusion that we couldn't make them ourselves. In fact, Davis briefed the Department of Defense agency as recently as March about retrieving materials from off-world vehicles not made on this Earth." And these are people as a general public, these are the type of people you would perceive as the ones who would have an idea of exactly what they're looking at. And if they're the ones that tell you that's what this material is, you're going to start questioning a lot of things. Man, it's so weird. It's so weird. Look at that object moving. You have to understand as well, Will, these pilots, these fighter pilots, they see everything up there. They do a tremendous number of hours up there seeing all kinds of things, seeing birds and all kinds of objects and natural phenomena, and they can explain things. And if they see something, they say, "This is like nothing I saw before," you got to pay some attention to that. It's rotating. Oh, cool. Cool, it's rotating. It's rotating. Incredible stuff. It's mainstream now. Aliens are mainstream. That is not something I expected to add to the 2020 docket. And I had to leave the show with it because it's just crazy. I'm going to follow it. It's going to be part of this show. It should be a part of all shows right now. It should be mainstream.
It's going to be on TikTok. That'll be mainstream.
Someone's got to make a dance out of it. A rotating UFO dance. Yeah, that's what the aliens, that's really what they're looking for.
A business? You're going to want to hear this.
If you own a business, you need Next Insurance. Type your business, select your plan, pay online, and just...
Apple begins assembling the iPhone 11 in India. We spoke about the increased footprint that Apple is going to have in India, and of course Apple's manufacturing partners, those like Foxconn, for example. There were incentives put in place a while ago, which we covered on this show, where the Indian government was essentially persuading manufacturers to do a portion of their manufacturing or assembly in India in order to avoid some tariffs to the tune of like 20% if they weren't going to be willing to do that. So Samsung's been doing it for a long time. Well, just recently.
Oh, right.
Just recently with the iPhone XR, that started to be made domestically for the Indian market inside of India. By made, of course, I mean assembly. They still got to bring parts in for it, but that was not the flagship model at the time. So Apple had kind of eased into the idea of India starting to adopt more of that assembly role. This is big news because that's their current model. The iPhone 11 is their current flagship model, and I guess they're satisfied with whatever's taken place with the iPhone XR in order to expand their program there and bring the iPhone 11 alongside. Apple's contract manufacturing partner Foxconn has started to assemble the current generation of iPhone units, the iPhone 11 lineup, in its plant near the southern city of Chennai, a source familiar with the matter told TechCrunch. A small batch of locally manufactured iPhone 11 units has already shipped to retail stores, but currently the production yield is limited. So, you know how this goes. I mean, it takes a while to get the scale going and all the checks and balances, make sure you're getting the quality that you're looking for. And it's difficult to set up these assembly lines. It's precision stuff, and perfection is required. I mean, this is hard stuff. I've visited these types of facilities in the past. So have you. This is some wild stuff. So, but it is absolutely big news for India and also for that region. India's Minister of Commerce and Industry tweeted on Friday that Apple had begun this assembly. Apple hasn't commented themselves. This will allow them to avoid the roughly 20% import duty that the Indian government levies on imported electronics. This is one area in which Apple is starting to take India seriously. The other area is actually opening online sales directly, which is a thing that they haven't done yet, and they're scheduled to do fairly soon. And then the last piece, which is open physical stores. They still don't have that either, but they're planning on doing that as well. Of course, there's been a few delays on that front. But this means a couple of things. It means jobs, obviously, for India, which is what the Prime Minister is interested in, and the people, presumably. But it also means potentially a decrease in cost for these flagship models, because that 20% duty is going to end up affecting the customer at some point. Apple's not going to be satisfied to just gobble that up themselves. So it's going to get passed on, those expenses, and so therefore, this is a good sign. If this continues with the flagship models, the public there gets to skip that extended cost and potentially get the flagship models for a little bit less. I don't know if it'll be the full 20%, and this is of course speculative. Maybe Apple just keep the price the same. It's up to them. But I do think Apple needs to take the Indian market seriously because they have such a small market share there, and as all these individuals come online and become satisfied with Android, it's going to be tougher to move them off that platform at a later date. Time is of the essence.
And more jobs in India.
More jobs. Everybody's looking for jobs right now. Jobs are good. I don't mean everybody's, you know what I'm saying.
When you think of DraftKings, you might think sports, but there's so much more. DraftKings use their top-of-the-line technology.
It's, we talk about Tesla with the Texas plant, the Gigafactory they're putting in, like not just jobs, but high-tech jobs, reliable, well-paying job, things like that. Speaking of Apple, though, they are scheduled to push back, at least there's a report, they're going to push back the iPhone 12 event. You know, typically these things take place in September. It's a back-to-school type of vibe to the iPhone events. But there's been issues in the world that have delayed almost everything, and Apple is not immune to that. They're going to be affected, likely. Fans of iPhone will probably have to wait at least another month before shiny new models are unveiled. Apparently, Apple is delaying its annual fall event until the latter half of October instead of early September. The company apparently forced to push back the event for its new 5G-compatible iPhone 12 because of production delays. They're not trying to do anything fancy and wait for things to chill out in the globe. It's likely that because of the production shutdowns that took place in China and elsewhere because of the global pandemic, that they're going to have to wait a little longer to have the supply that they would need for this type of launch. Because, well, people tend to buy these things. And people, when they buy something, they tend to want to receive it. You see how that works? And so you better have the inventory ready to go at least to some extent. Apple's shares are up this year, but they're actually down a little bit recently. So the stock fell yesterday. I think it continues to fall a little bit. We've got an article here from our pals at the Motley Fool attempting to look into why Apple stock has fallen. Yeah, if you look at even if you look at the 1 month, I think you'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's a small dip comparative to where it started, and certainly if you bring up the 1 year graph, it's they're surging still. It's just a tiny little cliff there. I mean, a lot of high-tech stocks are looking like this. Recently, we've referenced Amazon, we've referenced Tesla, obviously, but the this little tiny dip is likely due to that news emerging of the delayed event. The delayed event is a big part of it, and also just the softness of the marketplace in 2020, particularly around flagship level devices and flagship level price tags. So Goldman Sachs has warned investors not to be too bullish on Apple's near-term prospects. They do not have a recommendation to be purchasing this stock at the moment, but it's kind of, Apple is one of those stocks, one of those companies, like some of the like Tesla, where there's a lot of people who own that and are fully committed to sticking with it for the long haul, and they're not looking for a get rich quick. And so even though these things can swing a little bit, those individuals are more interested in the 5-year outlook than necessarily, maybe what's going to happen in 2020 or what's going to happen or not happen in September. Now, I saw you making a type of expression looking at this bear. I think it is a very nice image of a bear, and I'm curious about why you're curious of this particular bear. Do you think he looks strange, or?
Well, this is part of the article, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, see, Will, this is where you've exposed yourself. The moment has come where you've exposed the fact that you're not the business guy anymore.
Is there a bear reference?
Yeah, so in the stock market, when a stock is not hot, not so hot,
It becomes a bear.
it's a bear, and when a stock is to the moon, it's a bull. As far as the analysts are concerned, they just have these different animals to represent a stock. It's just for fun. It's why you go to Wall Street and have a big bull sitting there. Bull is good. It's like an old-fashioned kind of a thing, but it is strange.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably more to the origin story as to why those animals became representative of. They represent not just a particular stock, but the entire market. You can have, if people are hype about the market, they'll say it's a bull market, lots of opportunity. They'll say, and bear will represent the opposite. Yeah, a bull market is a market on the rise, and it's economically sound. A bear market is a market that's receding, where most stocks are declining in value. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool. I guess it adds a little personality to the business world. A couple of animals. Animals are cool. It is a cool picture of a bear, though. Holy moly, you don't want to bump into that guy. Corning is unveiling new scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass Victus. This stuff looks, I
think that the spiritual trip at this moment is not necessarily a cave in the Himalayas.
It looks pretty cool. Little video. I actually like this promo video. I think it does a good job in about 2 minutes of explaining why they've created the greatest glass ever. Now, Gorilla Glass has been on so many devices. I mean, they're really the name in the business. This new one, now we're doing 2-meter drops, supposedly, based on their testing. They put it up against some competitors in this video. Variety of tests, not just dropping it, but they have sort of a metallic probe that they put on the top of it with different weights. They have this slapper test. So this simulates kind of smacking onto the ground into an, look at this, wham! And that's their new Victus product. Yeah, it's fine. Not even our Mega Slapper could defeat Gorilla Glass Victus. And meanwhile, a competitor. You see a competitor, piece of garbage. So this is lovely. It's all demonstration. There's a couple of cool ones. Here's a straight up drop from a fairly decent. I want to get one of those machines. Those are cool. That's 2 meters. It survives. Competitor. disaster, as you're about to see here. But the scratch one is also really interesting, and I think for a lot of people, it's more on the day-to-day with the scratching. So this is where what you're going to see here. On the left is the competitor with a 4 Newton load. On the right is the new Gorilla Glass with an 8 Newton load. So, I mean, you can see the scratch is barely visible on the Victus, and compared to the other ones discussed, if you want to get rid of your phone. It's kind of, and it kind of like spreads more. And here's the load in kilogram force, kgf. I would assume that's what the F stands for. Anyway, you go 15 kilograms, the other one's blasted, that one's up to 100 kg. So I don't doubt, I mean, Corning's been doing it. I don't doubt that this next one is exactly what they claim for it to be. Glass is still glass, as I believe Jerry Rig will tell you, glass is glass, but this is better glass. So they find all kinds of ways to create these hybrids, and they continue to amaze. And it's big business, because the smartphone business is big business. And guess what you got to put on the front of a smartphone? Thank you for pulling it full circle. Here we have a report from Gizmo China, which I guess is a competitor of Giz China. Isn't that another site which looks almost exactly like this? Anyway, they claim, according to a tipster, that 5,000 milliamp hour batteries and 100 plus fast charging are going to become the mainstream in 2021. That's just going to be, you just expect it in 2021. Now, I assume they're talking about mostly with Chinese smartphone brands, based on where, the tipster's origin, as well as this particular website, and also the fact that Apple seems to be much slower to adopt these types of technologies. We already have the spec on the next generation iPhone. It's nowhere near 5,000 milliamp hours, and certainly nowhere near 100 plus watts of fast charging. Regardless of what you feel about it, I mean, people are critical of super fast charging. The battery's degrading, even though Oppo, Vivo, others will tell you otherwise. Xiaomi, they'll say, no, we tested, we're cooling things down. We got all these moves we make. We're okay. It's fine. Charge fast. Yeah, they're VOOCing all day. But anyways, yeah, no, I presume we're talking about brands here like Oppo, like Vivo, like Xiaomi, OnePlus, and others like that, where I can imagine that this can become the norm. Just how fast we've seen things happen in other specification territories. Look at the scaling of RAM. RAM got ridiculous fast.
Was it 16 gigs now?
Yeah, it feels like we went from 6 gigs. That's a ton. That's a powerhouse right there. Up to 16 in like 5 minutes. So as the spec chasing continues, the battery's got to scale up, and the recharge got to scale up. Increasingly, that's becoming a huge marketing component for a smartphone. Those video clips float around with the thing recharging in like 7 minutes. It gets people going. They say, well, that's something I can. Plus, I'll say this. People were upset that possibly the next generation iPhone is going to shrink the battery. We covered that on yesterday's show. Battery, to me, as our phones increasingly become our main computing devices, I think battery is that killer feature. And battery is a two-step thing. Battery is how long it lasts, and then how quickly can I top it up. It's those two things. And so once you've used a device that charges it super fast and has a decent battery to go with it, it's very difficult to go the other way, because you just got used to it. I have even with this OnePlus, just the warp charge in the car, because my car has an outlet option as well. And sometimes I'll make the mistake of just plugging into the USB port, and my phone barely budges. But if I plug into the right port, which is the fast charge port, even in a 10-minute trip, I'm good for a while. And you get really used to that feature. So I would suggest to people who haven't experienced it, give it a look, and then talk to me, because in a pinch, when you just need that juice, I'm telling you, feels great. PlayStation 5 Special Edition unveiled, made of 24 karat gold. This is not officially coming from Sony, by the way. I got to get that out of the way right away. This is a company that specializes in taking consumer electronics and making them more luxury. There's a number of companies like this. They've got a video here, exclusive, high demand. People are asking. So yeah, it's going to be gold plated. Obviously, we're not talking solid gold over here. That would be insane. And it's going to have a premium price tag to match. Probably a few £1,000s. It's a British company. Now this one came on my radar. I was actually tagged in a tweet from Marquez. He said this was right up my alley right here. He said he said low key, this is an unbox therapy type of feature. And he's completely correct. This should definitely show up on Unbox Therapy, although I have to be realistic here. Even though these guys are taking pre-orders or whatever they're doing, they're called Truly Exquisite from the UK, and they got a nice little promo video, gold-plated PlayStation 5, gold-plated controller, gold-plated headset, to just make the whole set come together. They're going to have to get their hands on the PS5 first. They're going to have to buy it like a regular citizen before they can give it their treatment. So I'm a little bit concerned about the timeline on this thing. If you go out and buy the thing for a few £1,000 and you want to make a video about it, is it coming 6 months after the initial release? I don't know what the demand is going to look like, and why Sony's going to let them buy them in bulk to make their sales. Probably not. What that Sony's going to be heavily limiting the early supply to 1 unit per household. So how does Truly Exquisite come along and get the 100 that they want to have for their limited editions? It's going to be difficult early on. Later on, it's no big deal. You look at the companies that do the customizations later on, so what? You can buy these things as you want. So I'm a bit curious about that, but I don't know, maybe I get in touch with these guys. Maybe I could just send them a PlayStation 5. They could give it the 24 karat treatment and make it part of the series like that. But if they can get their hands on it, I definitely want to unbox it. Obviously, it's completely ridiculous, and that's why it's cool. That's why people are tweeting it at me for good reason. It's going to be available in 24 karat gold, platinum, or 18 karat rose gold. So you get your selection, get your options over there. I'll probably go with the classic gold, 24 karat gold. It's sure got a look to it, I'll tell you what. So yeah, they're going to probably limit it to 100 pieces, and a few £1,000s is what we know right now. And I would say at least. Of course, they got to wait like everyone else to see the retail costs just on a PlayStation before they come up with their final cost. Speaking of costs, we have some pretty decent indication here that it's a possibility that these PlayStation 5 games, that the game pricing may actually not have to increase. See, at first, the 2K series guys came out and they said, yeah, our games are going to go up $10. Right? They said it's going to go from $60 to $70. So $59.99 or what is it, $95, whatever they charge right now. $10 extra. So people say, okay, new generation, all right, fine. I can see that. But then Ubisoft got everybody all fired up. The other day they were doing their earnings call and they said, no, we're not going to raise the prices.
Right, not yet.
Not yet, at least. And they didn't seem, I mean, anyone can change their price at any time. But why would you come out and say, no, we have no plans of raising our prices unless you actually had that plan? Right? I mean, I'm believing it at the moment, but you're right. They could change it as they see what everyone else does, all the other, whatever the prices end up being. But you know how this goes. Once it's kind of collectively decided upon, then they all seem to be that price. So Ubisoft, a big time game company, right? They got a few titles out there. I mean, they've earned a few bucks. They're kind of a big deal. So if they decide to keep the cost down, then maybe that could influence some of the other game companies to do something similar. And it could influence the actual long-term price, if they stick to it, of next-generation titles, which the console is likely to be expensive enough. And so I can see that being meaningful to users, even though it sounds like, oh, it's only $10, but buy a bunch of games, it adds up. And there is a difference between 60 and 70. I remember a couple consoles launched $100 games. Which one? Was it the Nintendo 64? Was it like $100 a game? They tried to go crazy with it, and it really prohibited a number of people from even wanting to bother with it. I remember that as a kid. I was sitting around waiting for, I guess it was the other PlayStation at the time. I don't remember which one it was. Maybe the PS1. Was that around the Nintendo 64 era? But I think it influenced my decision on which platform to get at that time because of the price of cartridges. So it does matter, but in this case, I don't think it's going to change which platform people pick, because whether it's PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, they're likely going to land on the same number. But Ubisoft's here giving you some kind of positive indication that it's at least a possibility that these things could stay at $60 for the next gen. TikTok is launching a $200 million fund to pay creators for their videos. You sent this to me. You're outside of being a business guy, you're also the TikTok guy, which I just found out recently. Yeah. After yesterday's episode, I was sitting there looking at that clip, or at least a moment in the show where you referenced having watched TikTok. You're like, "Oh, been watching TikTok the other day," and then someone commented on my expression. Where it kind of took me a second to digest. Just I pictured, I had the imagery of just Willie Doo chilling watching TikTok. I had to process that. But anyways, you're the TikTok guy, and so you sent this one over to me. $200 million to try to keep creators on the platform. That's the headline as far as I'm concerned, because it's a lot of, well, you've been seeing the press and the fears and the concerns about the future of TikTok, particularly in the US, after what happened in India and other places. People getting real skeptical, people getting nervous about ByteDance and Chinese apps in general. Look, I can't speak on it. I'm not staring at the code. I don't know what's going on. But I can say there's apprehension out there. And that apprehension is definitely going to trickle to the user base, to the content creators themselves, as we saw in the form of Ninja putting up a tweet once upon a time, seems like a while ago, maybe a week ago, saying, yeah, I'm about to get off TikTok, and I think you should too. And that's big, man. That has an impact that influences people and maybe even convinces people to do the same. Here's the tweet. I have deleted the TikTok app off all my devices. Hopefully a less intrusive company, in brackets, data farming, that isn't owned by China can recreate the concept legally. Such funny and amazing content on the app from influencers. So he comes out and says something like this, and if you're TikTok, you go have a meeting. If you're in the US office, you go have a meeting after this happens, that tweet. And you look at each other and you say, well, this could start a trend, particularly because a lot of these TikTok influencers could likely end up and have begun to end up and show up on YouTube. And they're doing views on YouTube. And YouTube has a partnership program, well established. There are businesses on YouTube that thrive, with or without independent sponsorship sales, because there's the baked-in revenue associated with Google AdSense. And so, of course, TikTok's looking at that and saying, well, how can we ensure that these people don't bounce? How can we ensure that they don't get afraid and say, why am I investing on this platform when I could be investing in places like YouTube, where I feel it's a safer long-term bet from the standpoint of the U.S. government, and on top of that, where I can start making money right now and every single upload. And so this is an interesting topic, regardless of just TikTok. All the other platforms, whether it's Twitter or Instagram, they don't have these baked-in revenue structures. Facebook got it recently for content creators. They start to encourage it. So without having that, I mean, yeah, of course people who cultivate audiences are going to want to go to a place where they can make a business out of what they've just done. And on TikTok, up until that point, it was strictly around selling their own sponsorships. And that's obviously a little bit more work. And I don't know, not every creator actually succeeds in that area, even with big followings, surprisingly enough. So this $200 million, this creator fund, aims to sign deals with their popular stars to continue to upload stuff on TikTok. Now, I haven't seen these documents or proposals, so I don't know what it prohibits those creators from doing. But my experience in this space, typically the way these things work is there's some sort of first window status where TikTok will sign a deal saying, hey, we need you, A, to upload a certain amount of content, to just keep uploading, and B, to upload here first before you go upload other places, or to not upload competitive content. Now, because it's such a specific type of content on TikTok, the second component there, the B part of it, maybe not such a big deal where they upload first. I think the bigger part of the deal is don't give up on us. Keep posting here. We don't want the mass exodus. We don't want the Vine thing. Because prior to Vine shutting down, there's all kinds of stories of those big creators ending up in corporate offices in San Francisco standing there saying, we need to make some money off this thing, before they all exited to YouTube as well. So I don't know if $200 million is enough. I don't know who they're trying to hang on to or who they view or perceive as their important creators. It all gets very squirrely very fast. Creators who want to apply for funding must be 18 or older, consistently post original videos, and create content that's consistent with TikTok's community guidelines. A baseline follower count is also required, but TikTok has not stated how many are needed. Creators in the United States can apply for funding in August. And they did not mention other markets. So it does appear to be a United States initiative, and that's the place where most of the controversy exists, so it's the place that probably needs the most attention. So we're going to have to wait and see how this maps out, but a guy like you, Will, earlier when you sent me this story, you put a little piece in there, a little opinion of your own. You were kind of indicating 200 million, not enough.
Yeah, I think I was reading the number of downloads is like, what, 140, 50 million? Like, I think creators should deserve more, at least right now.
Wow. But how do they split it up, you know? It's tough.
Yeah, who knows? They need some sort of payment.
You know what the key takeaway for me was? That you stared down a $200 million number and you're like, eh. You're like, eh. That's the more important part to me. Amazon reportedly in talks to buy a 9.9% stake in India's Reliance Retail. It's every day I got a story like this. The money is flowing right now from North America to India. All the big players want a piece of it, and I'm also learning about just how insane the Reliance company, the reach of the Reliance company is. It's everywhere in every segment, and billions flowed in to go strategically to Jio, which is a part of Reliance, and of course Amazon's money, Bezos' money, more interested in the retail part of things. I didn't know this, but Reliance Industries operates Reliance Retail, which is the largest retail chain in India, even though it was only founded in 2006. It serves more than 3.5 million customers each week through nearly 10,000 physical stores in 6,500 cities and towns. That's a decent retail footprint. Well, I don't know. I know you're not impressed by the 200 million, but you got to be impressed by that many stores.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So Amazon, they like to sell you things, and they certainly want to be a part of this new world situation going on. They want to go along for that ride over in India, and I don't blame them. Google wants to do it, Facebook wants to do it, but their play is less obvious because they got their website going there as well, and they want to run their regular business in India, but they're having to make these strategic partnerships along the way to stay part of the ride, and this could be one of them. 10% stake, a 10% stake is no joke. It's going to allow them to have a more intimate relationship, probably understand the Indian retail market a little better, which would be very valuable for a company like Amazon that wants to sell you something at the end of the day. For the time being, Reliance Industries' new venture, JioMart, is increasingly becoming a new challenger to Amazon, which has invested $6.5 billion in its India business, and Walmart, as I mentioned on a previous show, you were indicating to me I was wrong, but Walmart is the big investor in Flipkart as well, which is another e-commerce option if you're in India. So try to keep it all together. There's many ways to do this, but one thing is for certain, these American companies want to be along for the ride. Here you have Amazon investing $6.5 billion in their own deal in India, and then it's saying, which is already competing with JioMart, which is a Reliance company, but they're also saying, okay, we'll be your partner over here, we'll compete with you over here. It's like, it's wild. It's all tied up.
It's India's flourishing.
Absolutely. No doubt on that. Speaking of the Earth, I was trying to tie this back to the original story with UFOs. I mean, they're not even UFOs anymore. And notice how the Pentagon likes to call them UAVs, right? They don't like to call them UFOs.
Well, they have a new term.
UAV? What are they using now?
Vehicles?
Oh, off-world vehicles. OWV.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go with OWV. Anyways, I was trying to tie this one back because this caught my attention. COVID has had a lot of weird impacts on the world. None more significant than the fact that people are sitting around at home more than they ever have in the history of man. And so because of that, there's a very strange consequence that I never would have thought of, which is the fact that the Earth is now vibrating less because of those lockdowns. Actual humans moving about.
Stomping their fat feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we do that collectively, we actually, we shake the Earth a little bit, and it can actually show up as high frequency seismic noise. And that's how, typically they're measuring seismic activity, looking for earthquakes and things like this, and they have to subtract the human activity to get their effective readings. And they're having to subtract a lot less because people are sitting on their butts. People are just sitting watching Netflix, watching YouTube. They're just moving around less, having less fun.
But not methane.
Is it? No.
Methane?
Maybe not, because they're indoors, so it's like getting trapped. The human methane is sitting in the attic. It's sitting below the roof line. Yeah, you're just breathing your methane back in, Will. It's gross. We humans are a rowdy, disruptive bunch. Our very day-to-day living causes the planet to hum, quite literally. Driving, traveling, digging, construction, industry, and even live sporting events all contribute to a constant background hum of high-frequency seismic noise. Thanks to global lockdowns due to the COVID-19, the world is experiencing the most dramatic reduction in that seismic noise in recorded history. Recorded history! We are quiet right now. Quiet in many ways. Pensive, chilling, waiting. And there's not much else to do, so I don't know if the Earth likes that or doesn't like it. There's actually a video you can look at if you scroll down a little bit, where you can see these spikes in seismic noise, which would typically be around high density areas. Obviously, more people stomping around, making noise, digging, industry, doing human stuff. Now we're on chill mode, we're on sleep mode. Seismic noise is on sleep mode for the time being. Maybe we'll have fewer earthquakes. We're just disrupting. It's not happening. Anyway, you probably caught this news, Will. Mike Tyson is coming back. Mike Tyson, you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
He's a famous boxer. He knocked out a few guys back in the day. I remember his fights used to be an event when I was a kid. I remember at my grandparents' house, they had a big screen TV, and if Tyson was fighting, they're going to buy that pay-per-view, and there's going to be a crowd. He had the black shorts on, and it was just, it was a real, he was the biggest thing in the sport. Maybe he still is. Maybe there hasn't been anything bigger at heavyweight. Probably not. Anyways, he's coming back. He's like 57 years old, I believe. He's 54 years old, and he's going to fight Roy Jones Jr. on his own comeback at 51 years old. And it's going to be an exhibition match, obviously. And originally, like yesterday, I was reading a report that said they weren't going to try to knock each other out. And then, of course, I found that hard to believe. In an interview, Tyson says, I only know how to fight one way. He says, I only know how to go full force. Anybody who knows me, I don't know how to take my foot off the gas. I just know one way of fighting, and that's just what it is. So, as far as Mike's concerned, it's a real fight. And Roy Jones is no slouch. Also one of the all-time greats, though I don't think he spent as much time at heavyweight. Granted, they're close enough in size. Tyson was kind of a shorter heavyweight. So you're actually looking at 5'10" is Mike Tyson, 5'11" is Roy Jones. And Roy Jones actually has a reach advantage, 74 inches versus 71. He also Jones claims that he's got better cardio. So he said if Mike doesn't knock me out early, he's going to be in trouble. That said, the early betting line is out, and Tyson's showing as a favorite right now. Slight favorite, not a huge favorite. He's minus 350 to the plus 275 underdog that is Roy Jones Jr. They did some nice math for us here on TMZ. If you place a $350 bet on Tyson, you'll win $100. So you're not going to double your money or anything. Now, the clips have emerged of Tyson boxing. He looks pretty good, but you can't get around the fact that he is the age that he is. And as much as I'll be watching just because of the scale of the event, I think it's important to note that, you just don't go into it expecting you're going to see a 22-year-old Mike Tyson, 25-year-old Mike Tyson. That just wouldn't even be fair to him or to anything. So you could still see something spectacular. Sure, it's not impossible. He looks like he's in shape. But let's just watch it for what it is, you know? It can be impressive in its own way.
Right.
Here's the crazy part. Here's the YouTube twist. The undercard, apparently, is going to have Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. So just to make the event even more wild, you put a little YouTube undercard, and Nate Robinson, former NBA player, and also a football player before that, apparently says he's an athlete, he's ready to go. Jake Paul, he's done the boxing matches previously, so we're all aware of how that works, and he's actually trained quite a bit and improved quite a bit. So that I'm curious to see how that one goes. But I have seen some training clips of Nate Robinson, and he looks like he's in great shape too. So it's going to be quite interesting. A weird night in the fight world, but I think a lot of eyeballs are going to be on this thing. It's Mike Tyson. It's Roy Jones Jr. It's going to be some eyeballs. Good luck to everybody involved. We talked a little bit about this Ford Bronco. Well, apparently it ain't going to just be the Bronco as the SUV. They're also going to do a truck version of it. That's the rumor now. Now, it's going to take a little while for this one to come out, but it's going to compete with that new Jeep Gladiator truck, which has actually been quite popular for Jeep. Now, the Jeep brand in general has quite the following, and it's still mostly around the SUV model, but when they put the truck out, you had to know Ford was looking at it, thinking, what's the right way for us to attack that model with our own option? Well, if you're doing a Bronco anyways, you throw a little bet on it, and actually looks pretty cool, this rendering right here, as a truck. And the crazy part about this, Will, is that apparently they could put a variant out with a really powerful engine as well. And also, they're apparently planning for a Raptor variant of the Bronco. So that could be...
You get the best of both worlds.
You got the truck, you got the off-road, you got the Bronco look to it, and maybe you have an exciting package. Increasingly, well, Jeep has been one of the few bright spots for the Chrysler group. They're not, whatever their new name is, I can't remember now. We talked about it the other day. See, that's the problem. When you go with that new age type of name, who's even going to remember it? It was like some kind of star. Stellantis.
Oh, yeah.
Stellantis? Did I get it right? I don't know, man. It's tough to keep it together. It means like some kind of... you can't even find it. You can't even type it in correctly. But anyway, they got the new name because they got the partnership with Fiat and Peugeot from France, and it's a whole conglomerate now. But anyways, Jeep has been good for them. Jeep's been a bright spot. And so it's no surprise to me.
8,000 small businesses are covered with Next Insurance. Handymen, carpenter, DJs, roofer, painters, landscapers, electricians, plumbers, Pilates.
That Ford should use a similar model and just say, hey, the Bronco's got this attention, people like this type of off-road look, and we throw a bet on it as well, and we count the money and people buy it.
Do you think the Bronco will kind of take some pressure or popularity off the F-150?
Yeah, so if they do a truck version, I'd say certainly, but just keep in mind, it's still smaller. So this will be a small pickup truck comparatively. You can see the way this is rendered with the small bed there, and the interior will be tighter. This is going to be less of a work vehicle and more of a fun off-road, a utility vehicle still that happens to have a bed. And that's sort of the way the Gladiator is currently positioned. More like throw some bikes in the back than sheets of plywood type of thing. Camping, this crowd. And that crowd is growing, man. With this lockdown, people are staying closer to home. They're exploring their surroundings, they're hiking, their cottages, that stuff is up, going to the lake, the national parks, things like this. It's the right time for these types of vehicles. Do you drink? You don't drink coffee, or you do drink coffee? You started recently. You're into the iced coffee mostly, I think.
I was always into iced coffee.
Oh, okay.
Even more now.
More so, because I see you almost every morning now.
Yeah, I know.
There's a nice coffee.
It's a daily ritual.
You got a ritual going. Well, apparently, it does matter which type of caffeine you drink, and how that's going to impact or affect you. And apparently, well, this Clarkson University, a team over there, they just published a peer-reviewed study looking for the difference in the type of caffeine you consume and what the effect of that is. Because you know there's a lot of popular energy drink style caffeine that's out there in the world.
I'm doing good.
That,
I'm in the studio right now.
It's popularized to keep you sharp. Red Bulls and Monster Energy and stuff like this. And there's always been a question: is that the exact same stuff that's in coffee? It feels a little bit different. I don't know if it's the same stuff. Well, they did discover in their study here that there is a difference between synthetic caffeine and naturally occurring caffeine, like the type of caffeine that shows up in coffee. And they found that the natural version of caffeine had a more sustained delivery. Of course, we know what caffeine does: makes you alert, a little bit sharper, and helps you wake up in the morning. Very popular beverage, coffee. I don't know if you heard of it.
Never heard of it.
And very hotly traded commodity across the globe, certainly.
So I guess it's more distributed in terms of energy.
Yeah. So here's what it is. They found that both natural and synthetic caffeine improve cognition and moods. However, synthetic caffeine had an initial spike after 30 minutes and then slowed and tapered at 60 and 90 minutes. So it was a spike. It's just a quick spike you're going to get with that. And a crash, whereas natural caffeine had a more gradual improvement in performance. So it's interesting because you may have thought it was one-to-one. In fact, many times on the energy drinks, they will relate it to a cup of coffee. Like this energy drink is 2 cups of coffee. And it's like, maybe not all caffeine is created equal. That's essentially what they're looking for.
Don't put yourself in this situation for me.
And yeah, it appears they have some significant findings. So anyway, what I'm trying to say, Will, is keep drinking that iced coffee, right? Speaking of drinks, people are dipping their ice cream cones inside of their Coke at McDonald's.
I want some milk.
How does that make you feel right away? What's your initial reaction?
Need workers' comp insurance?
Yes.
Get Next Insurance. Trusted by over 100,000 customers. Great prices. Save 10% by bundling. Immediate approval. Online certificate in seconds. Next Insurance. 100% online. 100% how insurance should be. Go to nextinsurance.com.
Well, I don't really need that. Yeah, you can bring me some emergency and some orange juice, some no boat, some bananas.
I mean, if that's what they want to do,
You don't sound into it right now.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking at the pictures. I kind of want to try it.
Okay.
But I'm not opposed to it. They have A&W.
I see it.
You're apprehensive. Yeah, a float.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up doing this as a kid, just at home. I would take a scoop of vanilla ice cream in the root beer and have a root beer float. Of course, you could do it with Coke as well, but I just feel like the float is not hot right now. No one's talking about the float.
Yeah. That was a classic, and then it just kind of died down.
Yeah, so the float lost its... And then all you need, Will, as you can see, you see the little logo in the right picture there? In the bottom right corner of the right picture. What is that logo? It's a TikTok. That's all you need. Somebody popular on TikTok just has to dunk their cone, and everyone... It's like a new thing that never existed before. To a whole new generation. Well, nah. We've been on the float. Maybe not often enough to keep it trending, but people cut back on the sugar and the junk food. You can't have these floats. But when I was a kid, like I'm saying, It was a thing that people did. Well, now they're doing a DIY version. All you got to do is get the soft serve from McDonald's and pop it into the Coca-Cola. You're gonna have to pour out about half your Coca-Cola because otherwise you're gonna have a volume issue. And what you get is this creamy kind of, almost like a Coca-Cola milkshake type of thing.
Right.
And it's a very interesting combination. She called it a black cow, and they call it a food hack. Well, I mean, in reality, it's just a float. You can't order a float in the McDonald's in the U.S., so they won't do it for you. So therefore, it's a DIY style. Maybe you got to give it a shot next time you're there, Will. Speaking of McDonald's, though, according to MSN.com, they seem to have they've attempted to identify the worst burger you should never order from McDonald's. When I read the headline, I thought, do they mean worst, like worst flavor, worst what? Well, they're actually worried about your health, Will.
Right, nutrition.
Yeah, they're worried about your health. They don't want you. They want you to live long, Will.
Shut up, MSN.
And
Thanks.
But I don't know what you're doing at McDonald's if that's your goal. But eating burgers, you gotta take it in moderation. But anyway, before we go down, do you have a guess as to which McDonald's burger they would consider to be the least healthy?
The double quarter pounder with cheese.
It's on the menu.
Oh, okay. Maybe a double filet of fish. No, that has protein, I guess.
Well, they all have protein.
More protein. The Big Mac with the bacon.
Okay, you're kind of close. You were close when you said double. I didn't actually know this.
The double quarter pounder.
They have a double quarter pounder with cheese.
Yeah, the cheese. Double quarter pounder with
And
cheese.
you scroll.
4 patties.
No, because the quarter pounder patty is way bigger.
Yeah, so the
than
double quarter
than
pounder
the
is
Big Mac.
half a
So
pound of meat and cheese.
This is more than
That shit is
4
crazy.
patties on a Big Mac. When you scroll a little bit further,
Yeah, double
that's
quarter
a lot
pounder
of
with cheese.
beef
That shit
right
is
there.
crazy.
I've never ordered this. I didn't know that it existed. But it's on there. Double quarter pounder with cheese, and what you're getting here with this burger is 720 calories, 40 grams of fat, 19 grams saturated, 2 grams trans fat, 1,370 milligrams sodium, 43 grams carbs, and 49 grams protein. Now, first of all, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. I feel like in moderation, whatever, go for it. Whatever.
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah, just don't do this all that often, and also be aware. Pretty much nobody is arguing for trans fats. Nobody is saying that's what you need. And this one's got 2 grams of that, so another reason to kind of limit your exposure to this one right here. But same time, I bet you that thing probably tastes better than half the other things on there because it's got those specs.
With the processed cheese coming.
So that's why I'm saying I'm the type of I'm coming from the angle of
Is insured with Next Insurance. Plan starting at $11 a month. Go to nextinsurance.com.
I would rather enjoy it less often, but actually enjoy it, than have a more sustained version of maybe not to the extent of the cheat day scenario where it's like you're like not eating anything, you're gonna eat this mega overdose of everything that you want, but kind of a more limited version of that where, hey, if you're gonna do it, go for it. I probably still wouldn't get this double, but anyway, as far as MSN's concerned, that's the one to avoid. They actually, but then see, the reason they lose me in this article is because then they go and say you have to get the regular hamburger, just a regular McDonald's hamburger, the thin patty thing, because that's their recommendation. That's their recommendation if you want to be healthy. There's a much better option for you at McDonald's. Instead of the double quarter pounder with cheese, go for the hamburger. The original hamburger has 1 beef patty seasoned with a pinch of salt and pepper, topped with a pickle, chopped onions, ketchup, and mustard. It comes in at 250 calories, 3.5 grams of fat, and 510 milligrams of sodium. It might be smaller. Yeah, that's not going to feel. You can't.
Obviously.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say you can't compare those two things. You're not going to be full after that. That's not going to do the job. Also, Imagine going from 40 grams of fat to 3. Well, what?
Give me this.
Where did all that flavor go? Where did all that flavor go? It went away with those grams of fat. Anyway, take it easy, people. If you're gonna do it, don't do it all the time. And also, hey, if you got a grill and you can just slap your ground beef together and I mean, you put together a burger the other day. You showed me a picture. It was completely overboard.
Yeah.
But I had a burger last night. Actually, I had the Hello Fresh burger.
Oh, okay.
The
Which
one.
The beef burger?
Yeah, it went with the package that showed up.
I didn't see the menu.
Oh yeah. I don't remember the name of it but it was good. And you make it yourself, and you're on the grill, and they make it very easy. So, anyway, I'm saying if you could do that, you go that route as well. Obviously, not everybody has all the time every time, but it's incredible what you can put together. A little bit of instruction. Anyway, MSM wants you to avoid that. Sure enough people just looked at that picture. They're not going to avoid it at all.
No.
They're going to head straight over there. That's what you're doing. As soon as you click the end button, it's going to be a double quarter pounder for Willie D.
All right, so we got the face
Welcome to this
filled
week's
in.
episode of Cold Fusion. I've got an exciting announcement to make at the end of this video, so be sure to...
Well, most of the face. Still have to block in the teeth. But hey, it's coming along pretty nicely. But what we did 2 hours, it's not too bad. I talked for about 30 minutes, so I just painted for about an hour and a half. I actually been in the studio a lot today. I was in here for about 4 or 5 hours earlier this morning. I just didn't stream any of it. I'm really trying to finish that last commission. It's so big, and I was just focusing. And plus, I took the day off work because I'm not feeling that great, and I really wasn't feeling too awesome this morning. I still didn't just want to lay in bed either, and like, I don't know. So I came up here and took my time and worked on that one project for a couple hours this morning actually. And we take a little break now. I'm gonna try to get some chores done. I actually need to take a fucking shower probably. Is the first thing I need to do. Try to vacuum a little bit maybe. And I don't think I have any laundry I need to do, but I definitely need to figure out what I'm gonna eat for dinner. If nothing else. Just try to get that squared away. Actually, I really need to go grocery shopping, but I've been like too lazy to do that shit. So, oh well. I'm just happy I got enough time saved up where I can take off from work when I'm not feeling well like this. And plus we're getting emails weekly telling us to use our time up anyway. I mean, I didn't want to use my time up just sitting at, well, that's the thing. When I just sit at home, I get to work on my art. So this is, I mean, it was just unexpected and unplanned for me to take some days off. I don't mind planning some shit, but just like, oh, I don't feel good. Hello, I'm not coming to work today. But I love my job, yo. My job is the best ever. They're so understanding when it comes to shit like this. But so yeah, I'll probably just take a break for a couple hours. More than likely, I'll be back in here this evening. I don't have tons of shit to do. This is a little bit of therapy for me, you know, just so I don't think about my aching body the whole time. And made a good bit of progress on that piece. So this is another commission, and the guy I'm doing this commission for actually may want another one done. So pretty sure I'll be busy for the next couple months. And it's getting close to the holiday season, so I should start getting like my holiday commissions rolling in for people who want to give somebody a uber extravagant Christmas present. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in to the show. Watching the progress on these portraits in real time. And I'll get with you guys, if not later this evening, early tomorrow morning. Peace.